Hello everyone, this is Steven from the Even Steven channel. Today we take a look at the Glock 17 Generation 2. I kind of had a first look video a week or two ago. I forgot exactly when that posted, and now we have kind of a review. So that first video was kind of a first look, first impressions. I had a little backstory about how I had gotten it. Now let's focus objectively on the Glock 17 Gen 2. So we got the, this isn't the one the gun came with, but this is the appropriate Gen 2 box. I don't know if, I assume the Gen 1 and Gen 2 box are the same. You call these the Glock Tupperware boxes. And I bought one because I thought it would be cool to make it more complete. And it comes with whatever warning information you want to. Pause and read that. I'm pretty sure it's clear enough you can do that. Again, pause and read it. These are two, well, I guess three, current production Gen 5 10-round magazines. That's unfortunate. I live in New Jersey, so I'm stuck with the 10-round magazines. Standard capacity for the Glock 17, I think all models of Glock 17, is 17 rounds. These are 10-round magazines. We have the gun. Just make sure gun is unloaded. Gun is unloaded. Again, a quick look at any warning information you might want to look at. And if you want to pause and read it, I don't think it's all that important, but some people might care. That's kind of interesting. So what we have here is the Glock Model 17 Generation 2. Now keep in mind the Glock Gen 1 did not say Gen 1 on it because it was the first one. They didn't think to mark it as being the first one because it was the first one. And similarly with the Gen 2s, they really didn't mark it Gen 2, but when they realized these generations, these iterations were going to become a thing, they kind of put them right here. So this Glock 17 Gen 2, all Glock 17s I suppose, are semi-automatic handguns, chambered in 9mm, double stack, 17 or 10 round magazine, polymer framed, short recoil. Actually, I'll show the short recoil. Short recoil. Striker fired if I didn't say it. And yeah, this was Glock's production. This was Glock's offering from the approximately the year 1988 to 1998. So if you play the game Half-Life, I believe in the game Half-Life, the gun in Half-Life, the pistol in Half-Life is a Gen 2 Glock. I believe that's what it's based on. So that's the Gen 2 Glock in Half-Life. Now, why would someone want one of these? Well, they're becoming a little bit collectible, if I might say. These older Glocks, a little bit of vintage, a little bit of history. Some of them have certain provenance, and some of them might want to pick it up for that. Now, is it objectively still a good gun? Let's talk about that. Normally, I would start with the magazines, but again, these are 10-round magazines. These are not the Gen 2 magazines. And I mentioned in my first video that if the magazine release is on the left side, you can swap them, and that could create some problems for certain magazines. But if the magazine release is still on the left side, this Glock 17 Gen 2 will take any generation of Glock 17 magazine. Any Glock 17 magazine will go right in there. So that's pretty cool. 40 years of magazines will fit right in there, no matter what. Let's start looking at the grip. As I mentioned before, I'll forget referencing my first video, but the grip on the Gen 2 Glock 17 is a little slick on the sides, a little bit. Today, if a manufacturer is going to put out a gun, they put a lot more texturing here. This is actually okay. The texturing here and the texturing here is not too bad. And while, again, there's a lot of smoothness right here that, again, manufacturers probably wouldn't do today, I find that it's pretty ergonomic in the hand. And I think that even with the subdued texturing of 1988, I think it fits pretty good. I don't think this needs like grip enhancements. I don't think this needs like rubber or a grip or Talon grip. I think it's actually pretty good. Ergonomically, I think it still holds up pretty well. Magazine release is a little small, but it's usable. It's not too bad. I think it's hard to kind of get this from just a shooting. Yeah, you can't really do this from a shooting grip. You kind of have to move the gun around a little bit, but it's doable. Very small slide release on the left side only. These are Trijicon night sights that came with the gun, and they do work. The night sights still work. No controls on the right side. Trigger is decent. It's a Glock trigger. An early Glock trigger. It's a little heavy. It's a little heavier than it probably needs to be, but it's alright. Notice the just in general, I don't know if this is because of the gun's age or because of the manufacturing at the time, but the frame kind of has, I don't know, it just seems a little less precise. Certain parts seem a little more rounded than you expect. Seem to be like a roundness over here, a roundness over here, kind of a roundness over here. It just feels more rounded off, and I don't know if that's just the age getting worn in and getting handled a lot, or if that's just the manufacturing techniques used to make the frame at the time. It's got a lot of scratches on it. Slide serrations are good. Slide serrations in the rear, none in the front. Like I said, I like the Trijicon night sights. These are not the standard Glock night sights. Nice big ejection port. Ejector. I think it's a 4 1/4 inch barrel, and obviously no accessory rail. That didn't exist, or not very common at the time. Take a look at some of the markings. We got let's see, we got Glock over here, 9x19, so 9mm gun, Austria. I don't know when Glock had their U.S. manufacturing plant, but it was a while, so it was not then. Model 17 Glock. You can see on top again. You got 9x19, yeah, 9x19 again. Serial number, a little bit of a Glock logo. Oh, hard to see. A little bit of Glock logo over there. It's pretty cool. In general, this slide seems to have more of a grayish finish on it than a more of a black finish we expect today. I don't know if that's wear or if that's just how the guns were finished at the time. Let's take it apart. Got the older style of recoil spring. I think the 1, 2, and the Gen 1, Gen 2, and Gen 3 all use the same recoil spring. Barrel with the polygonal rifling. So it's rifling, but supposedly a little more subdued. Can't really talk to that. I don't know if it's better or worse, but that's what it is. And this looks pretty much like a Glock slide. Some things have not changed all that much. Frame looks like a Glock frame. Well, it might not be identical. There's a little oil in there. Might not be identical to the other generations. It looks pretty close, right? Let's put this back together. This also is a replacement recoil spring. When I got this, I replaced the recoil spring. I just want to make sure that it would work properly, so I thought I'd replace it with a newer one. There we go. So that is the Gen 2 Glock 17. So I guess the question now is, how did it shoot? And it shot like a Glock. I'm going to make like a Gen 2 versus Gen 5 video because I have a Gen 5 Glock. I will say that it's not too much recoil, but just a tad bit more flip than I think on the Gen 5s with their different recoil spring assembly. So those Gen 5 Glocks and their new recoil spring assembly, that does do something. This one a little more flip, but it shot like a Glock. It was reliable. It was accurate. There was one little problem. With the accuracy. On this particular example. So this is 7 yards. I didn't write very big. This is 7 yards. And I'm going noticeably left. This one I just threw it. That was me. But, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's something wrong with this gun that it shoots noticeably left. So I'm holding here. The front sight's here. This is 10 yards. I'm holding here. The front sight's here. So at 10 yards, I'm going to, I don't know, was that 3-4 inches left? I'm not sure. I'm going noticeably left at 10 yards. So this is 15 yards. And what I did at 15 yards is I put my front sight here. And I shot here. So the group looks good, but I had to put the sight here. I don't know. Similarly, I put this front sight here. And I'm going off the target at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe this was like another one over here or something like that. So for the 25-yard shot, that looks pretty good, right? Well, here's what I did. The target was right here. And basically I aimed like here. Like one target over. So at 25 yards, I'm like a foot to the left. However, I compensated, and I got actually a pretty good group. I was kind of just estimating it. I was just like, it's probably like one target over. So I aimed approximately here, and they all went there. So, well, it looks like a good target, and it is. My hold was really off, or my hold was real far to the right. Now, why is this gun shooting so far to the left? I don't know. I thought it was me. I got my Glock 19 out, and I took some shots with my Glock 19, and my Glock 19 shot perfectly fine. Typically you want to say that's you. The sights don't seem wildly off, but I guess I got to push them. I'm inclined to go out to the range and try this one more time, just to make sure it's not me before I start screwing around with the sights. But that was way off, and it was unusual. Typically, you would say, "Oh, it's you. You're shooting left. You're doing something wrong." I don't know. I did some Kentucky windage and got a pretty good group at 25 yards, but generally you don't do that. And I've never really seen a gun shoot so far off while having sights that look relatively well regulated. It looks off, but I don't know. Either I was just really doing something weird with my eyes and my hands, and something was weird, or the Glock, the gun is messed up. However, I'm gonna give a benefit of the doubt. Say it was me, and I was just doing something weird that day, and I'm gonna give the Glock the benefit of the doubt and say it is accurate. And if it's not, then I don't think I have to push it all that much. Just maybe to the right. You gotta push this to the right a little bit. Maybe have this rear sight meet the end of right there. Push it, whatever it is. Quarter of an inch or a fraction of an inch over it a little bit, and hopefully that's fine. So I'm going to give the Glock 17 the benefit of the doubt, say it's accurate, reliable, durable, and it's fine. It's fine. Nothing wrong with it. Now, can I recommend you go buy a Glock 17 Gen 2? And the answer is honestly no, not really, because this one cost me about $400. I'll tell you, it cost me $400. And at that price, there are so many good new options. You can buy a Canik. You can buy a CZ-P10C. You should be able to get this for $400. A Smith & Wesson SD9. The new SD9. The SD9 2.0. That's a pretty good gun. This gun works, and it's fine. It's just that at that price point, you can get other guns. And even in like a used... I saw my local gun store selling a used Glock 19 Gen 5 for $450. So for $450, it probably wasn't cut for an optic, but for $450 you get a Glock that has better texturing and accessory rail and this and that for $50 more. So my point is, unless you just really want a Gen 2 Glock or you get a really, really good deal, I would say get something else, honestly. If you just think it's cool, just like the way it looks, you want the gun from Half-Life, the original Half-Life, that's cool too. You just might want to collect them. But I think something like this, its value comes beyond its objective functionality, because there are so many guns available, new and used, that you can get that do just as well as this, and sometimes more. Sometimes you can get a gun that's better than this for less money, or the same money. You know what I'm getting at? So that's my thought. I like it. It's a cool gun. I'm gonna keep it. I don't think it's worth selling. I like I can get nice and high on the gun because it's not the Gen 3s with the finger grooves. You can get nice and high on the gun. I think my hands envelop the gun very nicely. I think it's fun to shoot. I shot Glocks a lot. I know how Glocks work. I think it's going to stay in the collection. I just gotta kind of figure out if something drawn my eyes, or if these sights are just really off in an unusual way, because they seem pretty well regulated. The only thing I could possibly think of is I put a new recoil spring in this gun, and maybe the new recoil spring is screwing up the internal dynamics of the gun, and everything's going left, where maybe if I left the original recoil spring in there, it would have been better. I don't know. That's a far fetch. Typically, something like that shouldn't affect it as much. That's a lot. But it's very strange that this gun came from where it did. And I talked about it in my other video. And they let it come out of the inventory with sights that were like that. Anyway. So, can I recommend it? No. Short no. Short answer no. Long answer yes with a but. If you think it's cool because of the vintage or the collectability of it, then yes. But if for anything else, just you can buy a lot of other stuff. They're just as good. Anyway, this is Steven from the Even Steven channel. Please don't like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have any maybe comments on why you think this gun might be shooting left the way it was. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's the gun. Maybe because I changed the recoil spring. What was I using? I was using Blazer 115 grain ammo, which is pretty decent. Anyway, like I said, please all like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.